Hello, this is Brian Resney, President of Resney Wealth Management, bringing you an important update about the economy and the investment markets. Well, as we all know, we've got a presidential election approaching. Expect the normal discussions about inequality, the rich, poor, middle class. We've heard this repeated theme really since the early 1900s. Federal government's role in addressing poverty and closing the wealth gap, repeat. This is, again, always a political topic. One of the comments I want to make about that in general, we are the richest country in the world. The poor in this country live better than really almost anywhere else in any developed countries in the world. So there really truly are not poor in this country. Now, some people have unfortunate circumstances, but there's other people, of course, that maybe didn't put quite the effort in. There's a combination of both. Government spending, programs targeted towards that inequality will occur, of course, as they always do. And the big thing about inflation, and we'll talk about immigration and corporate profits and greed in the stock market. Bottom line, corporations create jobs, they spend money wisely, they pay people well, they give them great opportunity. The government, on the other hand, continuously blows money. Joe Biden proposes student loan forgiveness and drug price caps. We've heard this before. Donald Trump's proposing the end of taxing tips for service workers, restaurant-type workers. Again, we've heard this before. COVID policies, monetary fiscal stimulus benefit asset owners and harmed non-asset owners. Remember back in the COVID days, all that free stimulus money, the market went down, then the market came back and really is trading at new all-time highs. Who did that money really ultimately help? It helped people that owned real assets, things in real estate, things in the stock market, things that had a benefit to grow. Did that benefit the middle class? Not as much as it did people who have a few more dollars. Who's in the middle class, by the way? These are typically considered people who are making usually under $80,000 a year combined family income and have a investment net worth or an overall net worth usually under $50,000. While a lot of our clients think they're middle class, you're clearly not. But again, the poor and the middle class were most affected by bad government policies, and those have only continued for decades and decades and decades. The Federal Reserve-induced inflation really hit the income groups hardest, which were what? The poor and the middle class. Think about this. If you look at food prices up 25%, energy prices up 35%, who's most affected by that? Again, the poor and the middle class. Average hourly earnings up 22% since January 2020. Consumer price index up 20%. Minimum wage increase. Think about this, and you've probably heard these stories. California now has passed the 20-hour minimum income hourly, and restaurant workers. Think about how this is really affecting overall inflation and who's being most impacted. Are poor and the middle class really going to restaurants as much as really people who make more money? Of course not. But who's most affected by those higher inflationary pressures? Poor and the middle class. Overall employment right now is around 4%. So again, I've talked about this before. Unemployment is low. Generally speaking, wages are up. Inflation, of course, is up more. But generally speaking, the overall economy in the U.S. is doing quite well and stable. As long as the unemployment rate stays low and people are working, the U.S. consumer will continue to spend money. So we see really no signs of recession in the U.S. this year. And of course, we're looking at this data every single day. We are invested in the right areas of the market, and our clients have benefited again in 2024. That doesn't mean we won't make additional adjustments throughout this year. And don't forget, we're going to have volatility. We easily will get a 10 to 12% pullback sometime in the second half of 24. It may happen, it may not happen, it could be greater, could be less, but volatility is normal, just expect it. But I think in the next 3 to 5 years, the overall U.S. economy is going to do quite well, and investors who are properly invested are going to be very happy campers. Let's talk about what actually works in government and what's actually going to help the poor and the middle class the most. Smaller government employees has really ballooned over in the economy. Think about this. A small government spends less money. But where are the big jobs being created today? Government jobs. They've ballooned substantially over the last 3 to 5 years. Lower taxes, consumers and businesses are better investors. Lower taxes benefit everybody, and they certainly benefit poor and the middle class as the economy grows. A flat tax would be a great opportunity, I don't see that happening, and really getting rid of all deductions and simplifying the tax code. Who does really crazy tax systems benefit? It benefits the high wealthy people. When you have a lot of crazy tax loopholes, the people with the most amount of money making the most are going to benefit. That really doesn't help the poor and the middle class. So while the government will say, hey, we're trying to help the poor and middle class, then why do we have a tax code that is really unworkable, unmanageable, and really not beneficial for the poor and middle class? Really the ultra wealthy. So again, our clients are not the ultra wealthy, but they're doing better than most people. You would benefit from really a flat tax and really getting rid of all the deductions and the headache of really doing a tax return. And at the end of the day, more money in your pocket is going to be more beneficial to you and really the rest of the U.S. economy. Make the education system accountable would be another thing that works. What do I mean by that? Bonuses and wage gains or subtraction and firing in the education system. Our education system is really broken, regardless if it's from kindergarten all the way through college. This is a big problem that needs to be addressed. Again, who benefits most from being able to go to private institutions and get great education? Really people that have more money. The poor and the middle class are most harmed by our current education system that is really substandard. The other big thing we need to do is shorten education duration. Advanced learning after high school. Think about this. Doctors and nurses are going to school maybe another 6 to 10 years longer just to become a doctor or nurse. Why not send these people to college and get a four-year degree immediately as being a doctor, instead of all the other things they have to take and stretching it out 10 or 12 or longer years to become a doctor or a nurse. Trade school, same thing. Shorten up the time frame in order to get your actual degree, meaning fix higher education. All higher education has become is to keep kids in school longer, collect more revenues for these colleges, make them more bloated and less effective. Set a majority alliance with our island nations. Think about this. North America and South America are connected as an island. What our government should be doing is doing a massive alliance with this whole island, we'll call it, North America, Mexico, South America combined. We've got the labor force basically that can really rival the world, build massive amounts of manufacturing base within all these southern countries that we can help support, that will then bring really manufacturing completely back to our island nations, take it away from China and make us more financially feasible, secure, and help countries below us actually do much better. Let me tell you about a recent trip I had to Dubai a few weeks ago. If you want to talk about a country that's well run, it's Dubai. Of course, they don't have elections because they're run by a monarchy, really a prince and his cabinet. But they're for the people. In fact, when I went to one of their high-end malls, there's a big Constitution plaque throughout the mall. One of the main points was nobody's above the law, whether you're a billionaire or you're poor. The crime rate in Dubai is almost nothing. You walk the streets at 3 in the morning, you're completely safe. You don't see graffiti anywhere. You don't see homeless people laying in the street. There's very little poor, and the poor people there, of course, probably could be poor for a variety of reasons. But if you want to work in Dubai, there are plenty of jobs. In fact, they have to bring in visa workers constantly because the economy is doing so well. Do they have country debt? 25% of GDP compared to our 125% of GDP in the U.S. And their GDP was for infrastructure that's going to get paid off over time. So again, Dubai's running their country properly. The only people that don't like the harsh punishment of criminals are the criminals, hence the reason they have really low crime rates, death rates, and the economy there is actually doing quite well. And everybody that I talked to, whether they were visa workers or people that have moved there from other countries around the world, were thrilled to live in Dubai because of how clean it was, how well it was run, and really the opportunities that it afforded. So again, we can learn from countries like Dubai, but unfortunately, when you throw politicians in the mix, both sides of the aisle, they ultimately do a lousy job. Will that ever get fixed in the U.S.? Who knows? But I will say this, the next decade or two in the U.S. will not really go unnoticed. I think we will do well as an economy. I think we could do better, but given our political state with both sides of the aisle, we will do well. We could do better if they got together and actually enacted great policy to push the U.S. and really our island nations as one higher up and grow our economies and again be not only the leader of the world but a substantially better leader for countries that surround us. If you're a client of the firm, of course, and you have any questions, give the office a call. And as always, we appreciate your business, your trust, and your referrals. Keep us in mind when you talk to business associates or family members who need a quality, real money management firm that looks out for you. Have a safe and profitable day.